agents, you guys should be documenting how you're saving your clients money. I don't care if it's $500 or $1,000, like, because what you can do is you can average it out.
In a sense, when you start scoreboarding yourself like that, I think you try even harder to get those deals and those discounts for your buyers.
Yeah.
Now that we're having to prove our worth and it's not just I'm getting my paycheck from the seller kind of mentality, I think it's made me negotiate even harder.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the How to Real Estate Podcast. This is episode number 20, kind of a milestone for us, Kyle.
Yes. We set out in the beginning and our first goal was just to hit 20 episodes.
Yeah, that was it. So this is us reaching our commitment.
Yes, we're done after this.
And thank you guys for being on the journey with us. If you guys haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all the socials. Check us out for more content. This episode is kind of a follow-up to one that we've done regarding the National Association of Realtors, the clear cooperation, lawsuits that are going on. We've got brokerages leaving NAR. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. This is just catching you guys up on where things are as of right now. The recording of this podcast.
Yeah, this is such a crazy time to be in real estate right now. Like, not only are we coming off of the heels of the pandemic when real estate was booming and interest rates were low and the market was just bananas.
Yeah.
And then we hit these high interest rates, high inflation. Who knows if we're in a recession or not? I mean, economists will tell us 2 years from now whether we were or not.
Right. And
the market feels like it's plummeting. We're down 20% in transactions year over year. Interest rates just got over like 8%.
Yeah.
And now, like, we have brokerages leaving NAR. Like,
yeah,
what is going on right now?
A lot is going on, man, and it's unsettling. I've been talking to a lot of real estate agents and kind of picking their brains, and some of them from some of these companies that we're going to talk about that are giving the agents the option, and some of them are confident, in what's going on. Some of them are like, I'm not sure. Right. I think kind of most of us are on the I'm not sure train. So let's just break it down. Like, where are we at today? What should people that are listening be focusing on? And what are the facts that they absolutely need to know as we move forward in today's crazy day in real estate?
Yeah, definitely. Because there are definitely some misconceptions out there. And even I just probably helped spread one of them. Because, these, just to be really clear, and we'll get into this in more detail, these brokerages are not leaving NAR. They're giving their franchisees the option if they would like to.
Gotcha.
So RE/MAX is not just like done with NAR altogether as a corporation. It's just they're giving their individual franchisees the option whether they want to be with NAR or not.
Yeah. So I think the reason why they're doing that is because they really can't just leave.
Right.
Because there's a lot of MLSs that require you to be a member of NAR, right, in order to have MLS access. Right. So do you think if something comes up where they figure out that they don't need, or they develop a way not to need the local MLS, do you think that they would possibly say, hey, we are done, like everybody has to leave? Because I know Redfin is actually mandating that many of their agents leave NAR because they've got their own website.
Yeah. No, I think that it is in some ways a smart play. I mean, this is my personal opinion on some of these big people like Redfin who really want their own site to be where everyone goes. They're trying to promote their site. See, they have a vested interest in leaving NAR.
Right.
Most of us realtors do not. Yeah. For a lot of us, the reason our clients hire us is our access to the MLS. Yeah. Now, we can get into opinions on whether that should or shouldn't be why someone hires you, and maybe you're not offering enough value. However, the fact that NAR does require, if you're going to be part of the local MLS association, you have to be part of your state association, and you have to be part of the national association. It's all or one. It's all or none, basically. So, like you, I don't see any way for the average realtor to leave NAR at all because we need the MLS. Yeah,
certainly. And there's 1.5 million realtors that are members of NAR, right? So what does it look like for NAR? Just speculation, down the road, if 500,000 leave, like, I think that's a pretty significant loss for them.
Oh, huge.
A third of a fifth, of the grouping. No, that is a third. Damn, my math is good today. If a third of their membership leaves, like what does that mean for NAR? What does that mean for the rest of us that are still here?
That's a good question. I don't really have the answer. My first thought here, and I'm curious how you're thinking about this, is it's not going to affect them. I mean, yes, losing a third of your subscribers will hurt any organization. However, you got to remember that like back in 2018, 2019, not too long ago, we were at 1 million people in NAR. It's grown so that much over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So we're not talking about this huge difference in membership based on it's kind of like NAR has grown so much over the last couple of years. Maybe some of them falling off isn't such a bad thing. However, I have no idea financially, to be very honest, most of you realtors, hit us up in the comments if you know, how has NAR benefited you? What have they done for you?
Right.
Like other than the lobbying they do, I really have no idea what NAR does for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't either. Code of ethics, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah.
They've kind of put forth a code of ethics, and they're, from what I know about NAR, they're really more. They claim to be, big parts of like consumer protection.
Right.
Like, hey, we're here to protect the consumer, make sure everybody's licensed, make sure everybody's operating at a high level, make sure there's rules that are followed, to protect the consumer. So I think there's some benefit there, but it's been scandal after scandal with NAR lately.
Yeah, it feels like right now we're in a period, and we're not getting into these other really off topics here, but all these other big, quote unquote, union leaders, and NAR's not a union, of course, but it's kind of similar.
It is.
That are caught up in all these big scandals, these people that are just in charge of this massive amount of money, and it seems to breed corruption.
Yeah, and from the research that I've been doing, like there's a lot of people that are unhappy with NAR, like what they're doing and the approaches that they're taking and the things that they're supporting and the things that they're not. And then we have these, sexual assault allegations or sexual harassment allegations that have been going on. The president, Kenny Parcell, was kind of like a target of a lot of these allegations. He steps down, right? No longer in that position. It just almost seems like NAR is kind of imploding from within, like the leadership ranks.
Yeah. Well, it's whenever this kind of thing is going on and this much pressure is people love someone that they can point a finger at and blame.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have no idea about Kenny Purcell, whether he did or didn't do any of these things.
Certainly. Yeah.
But, if he's stepping down and this is the way it goes, maybe it's for the better.
It could be. Maybe they need a change of leadership.
Right.
That somebody in there running things a little bit differently. And an allegation is definitely not proof of guilt.
Right.
Right. You can be accused of anything. Doesn't mean you're guilty. It doesn't mean you're innocent. Right. It just means that someone's accused you of it. But what it has done, I think it just sown the seed of uncertainty, in addition to all of the other stuff that's going on, all the lawsuits where so many members of NAR are just trying to figure out, do we need them?
Yeah.
Right. Do we need NAR? Can we function without them? What does it look like?
Even though my previous statement was, I don't know what they do for me, because as a day-to-day realtor, I never think about NAR.
Certainly.
They seem to be so distant from my actual business. It's hard to even really think of what they do for me. However, you have to admit that NAR being one of the largest lobbyists in America, there's power there. And if they're looking out for realtors and homeowners' best interest, like they say they are, that's a really powerful tool to lose.
It is.
And I don't necessarily want to lose that tool, because that can be something that has a very positive impact on our business in ways that we may not even really understand. Because I know that they have done some things in the tax code to help homeowners kind of maintain certain tax benefits for investors as well. I know they're a big part in the, some of the benefits investors get in the tax code. I know they have some consumer protection things in there. So I do think on a whole, NAR is good for us.
Right.
But I'm also in agreement that there's some things that probably need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. They may have become too big for their britches. They need a spanking. Right now is a spanking. But I tell you what, though, I am kind of proud of them. They're not settling.
Yeah.
With these lawsuits, they're taking it to trial.
Yes.
With these other companies, with Remax and Anywhere Real Estate and the conglomerate that it is, with them settling, if NAR were to settle, I think that would be really bad for the real estate industry when it comes to the items that they're being put up against. I really respect that they're fighting for it, because in my mind, and I could be wrong, but in my mind, if I'm going to take something all the way, it's because I'm 100% convicted that I'm in the right.
Yes.
I would assume that that's where their mind is at with it. And there's a lot on the table. You know, if they lose, it could be really bad for NAR and the real estate industry. But if they win, then it could be really good. You know, so I am grateful that they're staying in the fight.
Yeah, and that's what I would want from my professional association, honestly. These are the rules that have been in place for a long time. And I can empathize with the homeowners of these big class action lawsuits and why they might feel that way. I think there's just a lot of greed there, though, and a lot of assumptions being made that, hey, I think the biggest assumption of those two things, we've talked about this in previous episodes, so please go back and listen if you're not sure what these are. But the big assumption is that if I didn't have to pay a buyer's commission, I would have paid half of what I paid. And that's just categorically, I think, not true. And we debunked that in that episode by going over the history of commission. And commission didn't start at 3%. And then when we thought, hey, we need to start paying buyer's agents too, we doubled it to 6%.
Right.
It was 6% before that.
Yeah.
And listing agent said, I will take half of what I normally take so that I can do more listings.
Right.
And so I don't think that if buyer's agency goes away, commission drops to 3%. I mean, maybe there's maybe the agents that are only getting 1% right now start getting 3%.
Yeah.
That'd be good for them. But I do think that we go back to an area where it's 5 or 6% still for most of the time. Because honestly, if I have to deal with the buyer with no agent and the seller at the same time, that's not a 3% commission.
Heck no. That's so much work. And then in addition to that, it brings to mind like intermediary relationships here in Texas. Right. Like, do you create an intermediary there? Do you allow the buyer or require the buyer just to be unrepresented?
Right, right.
You know, and then how good is that for consumers?
Right.
If I'm in a transaction and there's a buyer that's unrepresented and I'm representing the seller, this is what I do for a living. Like we're probably going to run roughshod over that buyer, you know, not because we're unethical. We're going to do 100% ethical stuff, right? But I know the contract. I know how to negotiate. Like the buyer's going to be at a serious disadvantage without representation. It'd be the same thing. Like if you go into court, you're on trial for something and you don't hire an attorney. You go against the DA and their experience is all they do, right? They know the laws. They know how to present. They know how the court works. They know all of that. You don't. You're just trying to learn it from YouTube. And then you go in court and you get slaughtered. You know, so I think that's a bad setup.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I thank you for transitioning there because I do think that the result of some of these lawsuits and NAR saying that, you know, because, you know, one of the results of all this going on is that NAR has changed their clear cooperation policy. And now, they no longer require buyer's agent's commission to be anything.
Right.
So you can pay 0.
You can.
And I definitely think that there's some sellers that are going to try that out.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have some bad luck with it.
I do too. I do too. I don't see that mainstream right now.
Right.
You know, so if you're the one, you know, you're in a neighborhood and you're competing against, you know, 10 other homes, you know, especially in today's market, like with the rates the way that they are and people having hesitation and all that, like it's going to be difficult. But I think in order for it to be difficult, the agent representing the buyer is going to have to stick to their guns on their buyer representation agreement and educate their client and say, hey, look, we get 3% commission. If you take, if it's less than that, then you're agreeing that you're going to make up the difference. Right. And so now when you go see that home, it could be the home that they absolutely love. And we want them to get that home. Right. And say, hey, that's the home you love. Let's write an offer on it. This one's offering 0% commission. So this one would require you to pay that 3%. That may change the degree at which they love that house.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, when you're looking at the transaction, the first step is falling in love with the house. The next step is the financials.
Yeah.
I mean, a good buyer's agent helps a buyer disconnect emotionally from a home and actually look at the financial picture first before making that agreement.
Right.
And if we're doing our jobs correctly and we're saying, okay, you love the home, great. Let me show you what your mortgage payment is. Let's work with the mortgage broker. What should your payment be? What are you going to need to bring to closing? What does inspections and appraisals look like? What is it? You know, all of that stuff that you're going through. If we now have to tack on that 3% because the seller's not offering anything, I mean, yeah, that definitely changes your cash to close and changes that conversation. So sellers or anyone thinking about selling your house, or, I mean, hopefully you're hearing this. It's not that it's unfair, like, oh, they didn't show my house because they wanted to make more money or this. It's the buyers are going to choose to skip your house because now they have to pay the commission.
Right.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Right. You got to. You got to lead with empathy. it's going to be crazy to see, man.
Dude, it's going to be super interesting over the next year as we transition through these lawsuits and find out the real ramifications of what's really going to happen here. Right. And they actually start trickling down and having an effect on our business. Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. So, when we're thinking about where this is all going, what should agents even be thinking about what they're doing in their day-to-day right now? Should anything be changing for them?
I would say, yeah, absolutely. Well, and what should be changing is their mindset around certain things like collecting commission from buyers. Mm-hmm. I would say probably 99% of agents out there think that that's wrong, mm-hmm. right? Because we haven't done that. Right. So on the daily basis, you should be wrapping a new mindset in your mind about that, mm-hmm. right? And being comfortable doing that. Also, skills. Like we've talked about, like documenting the deals that we're getting for buyers. Mm-hmm. And putting that on paper. And like I just put one together last week where I was able to save the buyer $30,000 mm-hmm. off sales price through negotiations. And I'm keeping record of that, mm-hmm. So now when I'm talking to buyers, I'm like, hey, yeah, you may have to pay this commission, but here are the results, mm-hmm. right? And then I've even talked to buyers that don't even know that you can really negotiate sales price, right? They're not even aware of how deep you can negotiate sales price or what other things can be negotiated in a contract. So agents, you guys should be documenting how you're saving your clients money. I don't care if it's $500 or $1,000, like document it, because what you can do is you can average it out, mm-hmm. right? Let's say you had 10 sales in the year and you on average saved your client $15,000. Mm-hmm. 3% commission is going to be, let's just say $12,000.
Right.
Cool. So yeah, you're going to pay me 12, but I'm going to save you 15. So you're actually still saving $3,000,
right?
Even though you're paying me 12, right? So that's what I would say. Focus on your skills. Stay up on the market too. Stay up on what's going on. The more informed you guys are, and subscribe to this podcast because that's what we're here to do, mm-hmm. right? We're here to keep you informed and make sure that you guys are ahead of the curve and in the know and adjusting quickly. So we've got to adapt. We've got to focus on our skill sets, have better conversations mm-hmm. with buyers, and start documenting all of our wins.
Yeah, I like that, documenting your wins thing too, because in a sense, when you start scoreboarding yourself like that, I think you try even harder to get those deals and those discounts for your buyers.
Yeah.
Now that we're having to prove our worth and it's not just, I'm getting my paycheck from the seller kind of mentality, I think it's made me negotiate even harder lately.
Yeah. And be more aware of it too.
Yeah.
Just be more aware and increase the skill set, mm-hmm. and kind of be excited. I know some folks, aren't really comfortable with negotiations. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a conflict thing, but get comfortable there, because yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to boost your confidence too. Mm-hmm. When you get a hell of a deal. And on that deal, my client was actually, his top line was $10,000 more than what we ended up going under contract for.
Yeah.
So he was still willing to go up higher, but I was able to keep it low, $10,000 lower than what his top end was. So get the wins, get the wins. The more you focus on it, the better you're going to get at it. And yeah, you're right, dude. It definitely makes you more excited to go out there and get deals for your buyers.
No, I love that. And I probably shouldn't even admit this on a recorded public, whatever podcast here. But one of my last deals was only offering a 2% buyer's agent commission. And this was before all this happened. I never had that conversation with my clients and I knew I was only getting 2%. And in my head, I thought, okay, I'm going to beat the seller up even more for this. And I did.
Yeah.
And I got my clients a $17,000 seller concession. And I was like,
yeah.
And I'm not going to say I wouldn't have done that if were giving 3%, like I would have backed off. But man, I went after it thinking like, I'm not letting up. Like I'm getting after these people.
I love that, dude. I love the spirit of that, So that actually brings something to mind for me, and just brainstorming things, and as ideas pop up, you're just kind of verbalizing them. So what if I've actually done this on the sell side, where I had a client and said, hey, here's our I think it was like on our admin fee. They're like, I don't want to pay the admin fee. I'm like, okay, cool. What if, how much do you think we need to list a house for? Boom. What if I get you more? Mm-hmm. Would you pay? Would it be okay? If we go above this, then the admin fee applies. But if not, then it doesn't. And I'll bring the commission down a little bit.
Right.
So that person was like, heck yeah, that's a win, right? So now I'm more incentivized to get you a better deal because when you get a better deal, I'm going to get the fees that I'm trying to charge. So what if we did that on the buy side? Say, hey, look, here's our commission is 3%. This particular home is only offering 2%. So there's a 1% gap. Would you be opposed to paying that 1% if I can save you 3%?
Right.
If I can get them to pay X amount of your closing cost,
Yeah.
you know, would you be opposed to bridging the gap on that 1%? Let's say that 1% is $5,000.
Right.
You pay $5,000, but I'm going to get you 15. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Who would say no to that?
Right. It's a win-win.
Yeah. If I were to hand you $15,000, would you pay me $5,000 for that?
Yeah.
Duh. All day long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just reframing some things.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, it's making me think we should do a whole episode on just negotiation tips.
Yeah.
Because I love what you were saying earlier about how you framed with your client, like what's the max you'll pay for this property?
Yeah.
And then anything below that is a win. Even if you got them right at that, it's a win.
Yeah.
Like, but and that's a great way for buyers or sellers. Like, so what's your minimum here? And I do that all the time in negotiations. When I'm a listing agent, the buyers are bringing offers. I say, okay, look, they've offered lower than what we wanted. What's the lowest you'll go? And they tell me, so, and I clarify, so anything above that's a win for you guys. Perfect. Let me go to work.
Yeah.
And I come back and it's higher than they're lower and they're ecstatic.
Absolutely.
Even though they took a price hit from their list price, they're ecstatic because it was more than what, and it's all about how you frame that.
100%. And the trust you build.
Right.
Right. You got to build the trust so that they give you that freedom.
Right.
Like this guy has so much trust in me, which I'm so grateful for. Just kind of gave me free reign, and I didn't have to go back to him every time. You know, there was a counter offer or whatever. I just played the game, and then when I thought that we were at a good point, I'd go back to him and say, hey, this is what I got. And let's take it. Yeah. You know, we're good. But that trust, and we should do an episode on negotiation. We absolutely
I think so. More tactical, like practical things. But yeah, I like that. So
yeah, that's good stuff.
Hit us up in the comments if you want to hear an episode about negotiation coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, even tell us some challenges that you may have had.
Oh yeah. I love that specifically.
Yeah. What scenarios can you give us that we can help you, you know?
Yeah, I like
even if it's past tense, you know, we always want to learn for the future from the past mistakes. So going back to the original topic though, October 16th, which was 2 days ago, that the Sitzer case started.
Yes.
So that's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
Right. Where they're still into it. That one is on clear cooperation.
That is the one. Yes. They're really going after the clear cooperation, and God, I'm forgetting the other policy here. It's because clear cooperation is having to offer buyer's agency, which they've already changed. And the other one is about the pocket listings, and I forget the exact name of that.
But that's being in the MLS, basically.
Yeah, basically you got to put the homes in the MLS as soon as you start advertising, within 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily love that. And we just found something out. EXP's got this Zen list. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So I've been checking that thing out. It seems like a pretty cool resource.
No, it's super cool.
I've got a video up on my computer right now that I started watching today. I need to finish it because it's so cool. It may be a workaround, you know, for some of this stuff. So
yeah, and I 100% think that rule was. I don't know the intention behind NAR, but I think most agents disagreed with that rule. Yeah. Now I don't feel like as an agent, the best use of your talents and abilities is putting that home and getting it the most exposure possible, which is through the MLS. Yeah. But that doesn't work for every single client. And probably 1 out of every 20 listings I get, it would have been better as just a pocket listing. Yeah. I mean, sell to an investor or just something else off market, or to test the market before we go on. Right. What works, what doesn't. Let me run some ads, things like that before I go on the MLS. Anyway, there's so many applications that policy kind of gets in the way of that I don't appreciate. Even, I think I mentioned this on the original episode we did on this topic, but like our first sell by owner strategy, it killed it. Yeah. It killed it because we would do open houses for sell by owners and then advertise the open houses. And we can't do that anymore. Right. Because if we do it, we got to have it in the MLS within 24 hours. Yeah. So definitely took opportunities away from that. So crazy times, a lot to follow up with. Do you have anything else
you want to add on this one?
No, and this is ongoing. So as the Sitzer Burnett case starts shaking out, and there's another case that's going to come, that's the Moeller case coming after this, that's going to also have some effect. And I think one is going to bleed into the other. So I'm really curious how Keller Williams and NAR and all these people are fighting this case and what's going to happen. So we'll do another episode. I mean, we're trying not to burn y'all out on this topic too much. However, this is a huge impact to the industry that cannot be overstated enough, honestly.
Man, I mean, in recent history, this is the biggest thing for real estate.
Yes.
The biggest thing. So it is important to stay on top of it. It could have a dramatic impact on all of the way we do business for all of us.
Yeah.
And all of our bottom lines, you know, so it's important to stay in touch with it.
100%.
All right, brother. Well, you guys, don't forget, if you haven't already, you're still listening to the end of this episode, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. Shoot us a like, comment on some of your scenarios that we can help you with on negotiations and whatever you know that we didn't tap into on these cases in this particular topic. Comment below, let us know.
All
right, you guys. See you on the next one. Peace.